I would like to introduce you all to Rachel Pat, who will be our moderator for today's masterclass. Rachel is a seasoned professional with over 20 years of experience in the Jan/Sand industry. She has spent her career at Hospico Brands Group, currently serving as a strategic account manager and previously as a regional sales director. Throughout her career, Rachel has developed a deep understanding of cleaning solutions, operational efficiency, and sustainability practices. By prioritizing relationships and fostering strong long-term partnerships with clients, vendors, and industry peers, Rachel has built a reputation as a trusted leader in the field. With a focus on collaboration, innovation, and delivering value, Rachel continues to play a key role in driving growth and success at Hospico. She places great importance on staying at the forefront of the industry trends and best practices. So with that, welcome, Rachel. Please kick off our discussion.
Thank you so much, you guys. I'm so excited to be here with this great panel of women from our industry, and I'm excited to introduce you all to them now. So let's go ahead and start with Laura Arbor. Laura is the corporate account manager from Heritage Bag. Then we have Mandy Copeland. Mandy is the director of research and development, formulation sciences from Gojo. We also have with us today April Diaz, Vice President of Human Resources from Brady Plus. And last but certainly not least, Kiki Katz, Chief Commercial Officer from Aramco. So we are so excited to bring this dynamic group of women and professionals together who are shaping the future of facilities management industry through innovation, leadership, and dedication. So in this session, we're going to explore the significant role that these ladies and all the ladies in our industry play in driving the success of facility solutions and how they're advancing in their careers, breaking barriers, and taking leadership roles within the industry. Our panel of inspiring women will share insights and personal stories about their journeys and the unique challenges they've overcome. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. So our first question is going to go to 4 of our panelists. So could you share your inspiring journey and what motivated you to pursue a career in facility solutions? And along the way, what valuable lessons did you learn from any challenges you faced? And how did you turn those into opportunities for growth? So Laura, we're going to throw this one out to you first.
Thanks, Rachel. So I'm not sure how inspiring my journey has been, but I'm so glad to be part of an awesome team at Heritage. Really, relationships have driven my journey and where I'm at today. And it's what I love most about being part of this industry. There's so many great people, and I've had the opportunity to build relationships, both professionally and personally. And I would say probably my piece of advice for overcoming obstacles that I have faced is to be curious, ask questions. You don't have to have all the answers. Nobody has all the answers. And anytime that we have to embark on something new, just asking questions and really being curious and learn as much as you can, that really helps me to feel empowered to be successful.
Great. April, same question.
Yeah, my path into facility solutions started when I was a sales admin assistant for Xerox, and I really wanted more. I was fresh out of college and I was hungry for an opportunity to prove myself in a management role, which, as many of you know, is almost impossible to do at 23 years old. But I basically needed a chance, and my friend was working for a building service contractor, and an opportunity became available to be a janitorial supervisor on a military base. And boy, did I get the opportunity to prove myself. I was on a military installation, scrubbing toilets and waxing floors. But it really gave me the opportunity to learn this industry from the heart of it. The customers, those that roll up their sleeves and work hard physically every day. I worked my way into HR, and the rest is history. But that drive never wavered, and it's something that really stayed with me throughout my career. The biggest challenge I faced was actually my own mindset, and I used to see problems as overwhelming obstacles that I couldn't tackle. And I realized that these are always going to come your way, right? And it's how you respond to them that really defines that outcome.
That's a great answer. Thank you so much. Mandy, how about you?
So I feel like mine is completely different from April's, but it has a lot of similarities in how we played it out. So when I began at Gojo Industries, I jumped right into the thick of it, testing batches of Purell hand sanitizer and soap on third shift using my analytical and physical chemistry background. And I quickly realized the importance of these products, as April did, that we were creating, Gojo was creating, and I felt the drive to join research and development using my chemistry background to actually develop these amazing and impactful products. The challenges faced within my world have had much to do with developing such specialized products. There's not many industries that have your end users use their products so often. So 50 to 100 times a shift, healthcare workers are literally putting our product on their hands. So my biggest challenge has had to do with being able to immerse myself into the environment and the life of the end user and understanding their needs and recognize truly that product ideas and solutions that we think we might have don't come from just sitting in the meeting room, but immersing, getting out there and interacting with the people that you're trying to develop solutions for. So the biggest growth opportunity that I've had is moving beyond my technical skills and to develop really deep, active listening skills to learn from others and then address their existing and future needs.
Great. And Kiki, same question, please.
Thank you. Great answers and hard to follow. It's hard being last, I think. So a couple things. I didn't wake up one day and say, I want to be in this facility solutions or distribution space that I'm in today. But I think my journey was really inspired by the fact that I love being in environments where the work that I do and that my company does meaningful value to the customers for which we serve. And so I've always gravitated towards things that were tangible and industries that were impactful and that people had to have in order to really function. And that's been the part of the inspiring aspect of what's motivated me to continue to pursue this type of career. And along the way, I've really thought about the challenges component as everyone else answer their question. Some of the lessons and some of the challenges is really just being a very, very big catalyst for change and recognizing that change is constant and taking any opportunity that I've gone through change in roles or careers or with different leaders as a way for me to capitalize off of how could I bring my best self to work and how could I focus on my communication and being transparent to help others. Those are some of the things that I've kind of lynched onto over the period of my career. So it's a little bit of patchwork quilt, but the end result, the end game has always been to try to be as positive and to be a great listener and a catalyst for things that are going to move us forward for whatever organization I've been a part of.
Oh, that's so excellent. Thank you all. Those were great answers. So let's go ahead and move on to our next question now that we've kind of broken the ice here. So this question, facility management has historically been male dominated, as we all know. So what are some of the biggest challenges you face as a woman in this field and how have you overcome them? So let's go to Laura on this one first.
Thanks, Rachel. So it's weird for me because I think I don't necessarily think about it when I'm in a room and I'm the only female. And I think it's because it's been that way since I started in the industry. So what I like to think about instead of being the only one that's not male is instead focusing on what can I do to stand out and bring a unique perspective to the situation, and really just having confidence and being prepared, knowing what you want to say and then delivering it with confidence. I think that's a great way to stand out and really garner their respect. You have respect for yourself, but really just getting people to listen to you so you can be heard.
That's great. Kiki, how about you?
Yeah, well said, April. Laura, I think I've never really stood in a room and thought, oh my gosh, I'm the only person, because throughout my career, facility management and the adjacent industries like distribution, specialty contracting, there've always been traditionally male dominated spaces. And I'm okay with that. I think what you have to do, to Laura's point, is embrace it and step into the room and have a high degree of not just confidence, but also recognizing that because we are unique, we actually have a large ability to do things that a lot of people can't do. And so some of the things that I think come to mind for me are really thinking about the fact that when I'm in a space, I want to make sure that I am not forcing myself to prove my expertise, but I'm constantly thinking about the industry, constantly thinking about the strategic approach to solving a problem. So I'm gaining my space, if you will, in that room of male-dominated peers. The other thing that I think is really important is making sure that you foster and create relationships. And that has been a success to, or secret to my success throughout my careers, building strong relationships of people that I can rely on and that really can teach me, again, has really helped me create more stepping stones. And I think that, one of the things that I've personally embraced and really thought through a lot is that a lot of times women try to adapt masculine traits or think about ways that they have to show up differently than they naturally are. And I would encourage you guys to just be who you are. Think through the fact that you have the ability, you've earned a space at the table, and you bring to that conversation uniqueness, and that is great. Whether you're a male or a female, the uniqueness that we bring to the table is really going to be what moves companies forward. So breaking barriers by being confident, making sure that you're showing up, and always ensuring that your efforts are leading the organization to the next level. It won't matter what your gender is.
That's so great, you guys. That's just such a great take on how to stand out. I love that. So let's go ahead and move on to our next question. I think Kiki, you're up again. So kind of following up on the last question, then how can women step into leadership roles in facility solutions, and what unique qualities do women bring to leadership positions in this space?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. A couple of things that come to mind for me, strategic skill building, relationship development, which I talked about a minute ago, and really a mindset of resilience. When I think about the women that I'm fortunate to work with at Aramsco, they are powerhouses. They understand the business. Their knowledge is full operational expertise. They understand the financial landscape of our industry. They understand how supply chains work. And that's really step one. Understand the business, master the business. I talked about this a little bit a moment ago, but the concept of just owning your seat at the table. I remember my first job out of college. It was in the electrical utilities business, and I'm sitting at a table, and there are a bunch of engineers around, and I'm the HR partner, by the way. And I was really, really kind of nervous. And later after that meeting, the head of engineering said to me, he's like, "Hey, you're seated at my table and you are there. I want you to have an opinion about these things. I want you to chime in. I want you to weigh in." And I have never forgotten Jim Messersmith and that comment he made to me that afternoon, because has always resonated at me. I've got the seat at the table. Make sure I do not wait for permission to walk in, sit down, and have a level of confidence, be proactive, be insightful, and add value to the conversation. I think those are some of the things that I think really start to separate us and ensure to others that we're there and we're supposed to be there. And the last thing that I would say, which is a quote that I steal from a really good friend of mine, the concept of lift as you climb. In order for us to continue to move the needle forward, we have to bring others along with us. So as women, we should really, really focus on strong networks, making sure that we are mentoring others, that we individually have sponsors, that we have peers that can really provide us guidance and open doors for us. So lifting as you climb is a phrase that I personally like to lean on quite a bit as I think about the way we can continue to empower others.
I think, Kiki, everyone in this group today agrees with what you're just saying, because I'm seeing a lot of hearts flying up and a lot of applause going out. So I think everyone's in total agreement there. Mandy, how about you? Same question.
Yeah, I think just to echo a lot of the great things Kiki has said, it's about maximizing the unique perspectives that we bring. I think women have such an empathetic nature that it lends a unique aspect to their ability to mentor others, uncover hidden talents, and connect with customers and end users on a deeper level. Our innate desire to nurture those relationships Kiki was talking about and solve problems in a more personal way allows us to then identify unique solutions that are really difficult to uncover if you don't have that really personal side that you bring, and you don't try to emulate other men in the room, but maximize the part of us that makes us us. And I think as I was reflecting about mentorship and leadership, I was thinking about how women, we tend to be the ultimate multitaskers, right? We, I think this can be a real advantage though when we use it. It allows us to advance critical initiatives while simultaneously progressing relationships, which sometimes as men, it can be very focused on goals, but we don't forget about the team that is working together. And, our brains aren't wired to just focus on one thing. So it really allows us to keep the needs of the team and the development of others very top of mind. I think women also have a real knack for demonstrating a team-based leadership style, which I see this every day in my work. It really helps form an alliance in tackling problems rather than each person or goal for itself. And we really like to share information, and that in turn then builds a culture and a foundation of knowledge sharing. And then, like he said, I love that lift as you go out. It elevates the skills and the knowledge of the entire group, making you even better as a collective going forward.
That's well said. Totally agree. So let's go ahead and move on. Thank you both for your insight on that. So our next questions are going to go out to Kiki and April. Kiki, you're up a lot today. So let's talk about work-life balance. And so how do we manage the demands of leadership and career advancement while maintaining a work-life balance, especially in a high-demand field like facilities management? So Kiki, if you want to take that first.
Yeah, I appreciate this question, and I am going to answer it. And then I think some of my team is out there. I'm going to ask them to hold me accountable over the next several weeks to see how well I do. So to that end, one of the things that I learned from a leader, 17 years ago now, is you have to establish really clear boundaries and you have to lead by example. And so what does that mean? It doesn't mean that we are working less hard or working less, but it means that we're being incredibly intentional about where and when I invest my time. So I'm very fortunate in my role as CCO at Aramsco. I have the amazing executive assistant who helps me balance that and keeps me honest. And I'll tell you guys, there are chunks and blocks on my time that set clear expectations of what I can and won't do during those periods of time. And just the other day, my boss, the CEO, he gets on a call with me and he called me. And it was really random. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, oh, did you get your walk in? I waited until I thought you were back before I called you. And so I use that example as even with my boss, I am trying to set boundaries of, hey, after 5 o'clock, I'm with my kid until 7:30. I will be with you guys all night long if you want me to, but I need to be buttoned down when I'm not traveling to help her and get her dinner and get her into bed and things of that nature. So setting clear boundaries, you have to do it. The other thing that I believe is really, really important is making sure that you are fully present. So just like I said, from 5 to 7, when I'm with my daughter and my husband, I'm with them. But the entire day, and my day starts really early a lot of times because I'm Central Time Zone and my company is East, I am in and I am all in. So being deliberate about your time, making sure that you're fully present when you're in leadership mode and work mode, that you're 100% engaged. And when you're in your personal time, making sure that you're 100% engaged. I think that allows us to create the right fluid of balance, but also it improves our effectiveness and it gives us a sense of peace of mind because we've put the right amount of time into the things that matter most to us.
How about you, April?
Yeah, so Kiki, I think you took the words right out of my mouth. It's almost like we walk the same shoes every day. But you're right, maintaining work-life balance while juggling leadership demands. It's not about finding perfect equilibrium. It's about constantly putting in those self goals and importantly, continue to evaluate them and adjusting them as needed. I would add that I think as female leaders, we tend to think that being a mother or being a wife or simply just having priorities outside of work somehow hinders how we are defined professionally, and we hide it where we make those areas of our life sacrifice more than they should. But these are our superpowers, and they're the reasons that we work as hard as we do, and they should be celebrated. And the only way to do that, like Kiki mentioned, is to evaluate what works for you and your boundaries. So my example, very similar to Kiki, is that I'm a proud mother of 3 small children under 4. And my current goal is to not work in between the hours of 5 to 8 p.m. Then I hop back on and I finish what I need to, at the end of the night. That works for my life right now. But I anticipate that as my children get older, they're going to have soccer practice, they're going to have baseball games, and I'm going to have to reevaluate. I'm going to have to shift that as needed. The other important thing is that it's a goal. We as leaders are going to have to make sacrifices in order to effectively do our jobs, right? We're not going to be able to hit the no working in between 5 to 8 every single evening. So ideally, if you're meeting that goal, though, roughly 80% of the time, that's a huge win in our industry. And you're doing much better than when you didn't have these goals or boundaries in place.
Thanks, April. That was awesome. So let's go ahead and move on to our next question. Let's see here. What do we have up today? This one's going out to Mandy and April. So what can organizations do to foster a culture that encourages and supports mentoring at all levels? Mandy, do you want to take that first?
Sure. And I'll just speak personally. I've been really lucky in my career to have been lifted up by both women and men colleagues and I've recognized that they truly wanted the best for me. And mentors, I think it's important to note, and this is kind of piggybacking on what April just shared. Throughout your career, different stages, it looks differently, right? At times, it'll be someone that you may have already had a developed relationship with and already knows what your goals are, and you may already work closely with them. And then other times it may be someone that you respect from afar. I know I've looked for people that have very different skill sets than I, and that can be really scary to approach someone like that. I'm a scientist looking for someone completely different within the business realm or the marketing realm to increase my acumen or understanding of something completely unrelated to what I do every day. I think a really important part of this is trust, right? So you have to trust your gut. And I'll say in the past, I've had, and these are just learnings that I've gained, I've had mentors suggested that I just knew in my gut wasn't right. Either, the goals wouldn't align, or it wasn't someone that I wanted to, I didn't feel their skills were something that I wanted to bring on, or the way that they did things. So I think a large part of it is just looking inward into what you need or what the organization needs from you. And I think mentoring becomes really important in a male dominated industry, right? There's barriers that just exist for us. And sometimes it's outward that we have to climb over, but sometimes it's inward too. So I think a large part of learning where you need to grow and how you need to grow is being able to do that inward looking, which mentors can help you do. It becomes really important to have someone to bounce ideas off of, to hone specific skills, and to be your advocate. I know personally, I really needed, and I didn't know this until people pointed it out to me, I really needed someone to help me take off my rose-colored glasses. I tend to like to believe everything's going to work out great, and the first line of attack or the first solution is just going to work. So I really needed an outside perspective to help me identify alternative pathways, or just being able to force me to ask the really difficult questions of what could go wrong. And that's just one aspect of how a mentor can really help you. And I love to see that Hygieia has a whole network that I didn't even know about. So I think that'll be a really, really good guide and reference and tool for those on the call today.
That's great. And I'm sorry, this actually goes to Laura. Laura, if you want to take the same question.
Thanks, Rachel. I really loved what Mandy had to say about mentorship. I couldn't agree more. It's so important in career development to have people that you feel are in your corner, not just to bounce ideas off of, but I've been fortunate to have mentors in all different shapes and sizes and different levels within an organization, and they've all helped me in different ways. At my previous job, I had a really great mentor, and he could be really tough, but it helped thicken my skin growing up in this industry, especially being male dominated. But he also really saw my potential and was willing to spend the time to help develop my skills to get me to the next level, to help me to achieve kind of where I was hoping to go, which is wonderful. But I've also had great mentors that have just been peers or friends that are also in similar roles. Even my husband, who's also in sales but in a different industry, just any trusted person that has, you know, a vested interest in you being successful can be a great mentor. And they don't always have to be somebody higher up. There's wisdom across all different types of people, and I'm happy to try and glean that from as many people as I can. So definitely look for mentorship from leaders, because that's you're going to learn, and it's really important for you to have an advocate in your corner. But I definitely think that you can be open to having mentors look very different and be just, you know, somebody that you work with in you know, an ancillary department. So I've learned a lot from a lot of different peers, and I think Kiki had mentioned the value of relationships. It's really important. It's one of the things I love about this industry is, you know, people tend to sometimes change business cards, but they remain in this industry. So just building those relationships, especially if they've mentored you, is great.
No, I'm not a panelist, but I have come across many people in this industry, some that I've been lucky enough to call friends, and I feel like I've learned something from all of them. So that question really is near and dear to my heart. So I appreciate everyone's perspective on that. So let's go ahead and move on. We're like halfway through already. I believe it. So this one, I believe we're going to Laura first on. Laura, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome in your career, and how did you overcome it? And what advice would you give to someone who may be experiencing the same thing?
Well, I'd be lying to say if I never felt imposter syndrome, because I certainly have many times. I think whenever I was at my prior job, I took my first people leader position, and I had never managed in a professional setting. And I went from being my team's peer to being their manager. Everyone on my team was more tenured and older. So I certainly had imposter syndrome stepping into that role. But what I will say is what I did to overcome it, or at least try to weather that awkward stage of, you know, going from being a peer to a manager, is just being really open and asking a lot of questions. I feel like all I've been saying is asking a lot of questions, but it's really so important to never assume. Really try and take the time to learn and understand the people, the business, the customers, whatever it is. Taking the time to learn, and also people really want to be helpful, and they love to talk about what they know. So glean as much knowledge as you can. And I think that really helped me to kind of gain the respect of my team, that she's not going to come in and just tell us what to do. She came in and she wanted to learn about, you know, what we knew and where we need help. And I think that kind of philosophy could apply in any situation where you might be feeling awkward at first, or why am I in this role?
And April, how about you?
Yeah, thanks, Laura. That's hard to follow. That was very well said. I've experienced imposter syndrome with every promotion in my career, if I'm being transparent. Even in those situations where I physically asked for the promotion or seriously fought for it, there was a time of a little self-doubt, which is human. My most recent promotion to VP of HR, though, was the best example of this. My former boss resigned pretty suddenly from her position, and so I was promoted into the role, and I became the youngest member of the executive leadership team literally overnight. I remember sitting in meetings surrounded by colleagues that had decades of experience, and I thought to myself, how did I get here? Someone's going to realize that I don't belong. They're going to figure me out. And I overcame it by speaking with a dear friend and colleague and mentor who had known my entire career trajectory, my skill set, and most importantly, what I was truly capable of. He reminded me that I was put in the role for a reason and bluntly told me that no one was doubting me but myself, and that he, with over 100 years of experience, still sometimes felt this way. And that for me was really the turning point. That's when I realized that I deserved this position. I was one of the hardest working individuals in the room. I was truly qualified for the role. And most importantly, which every leader needs, I had the backing and the confidence of my team. And I would say for anybody experiencing imposter syndrome, remember that feeling like an imposter and being an imposter are two very different things. If you truly weren't qualified for that role, you probably wouldn't be worried about it. That self-awareness alone is a sign of capability. Focus on the value that you bring to the position and understand that those feelings of doubt, they often mean that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. You're in a position that challenges and develops you, and those around you have identified skills in you that they are confident that you can do the job.
That is so well said. Totally agree. So let's go ahead and move on to our next question. Okay, who are the leaders, women or otherwise, who have inspired you in the industry or beyond? And what impact do you hope to make for future generations and facility solutions? So April, we'll go to you first on this one.
Yeah, as women, we often look for female leaders for inspiration, right? And we absolutely should. Female leaders are strong examples of successful women and what we personally can be capable of. Personally, my biggest inspirations and mentors have been male allies throughout my career. They are crucial, though, to increase support and to advocate on your behalf. I've been really lucky with the mentorship of senior male leaders, and those that inspire me have shaped my perspective, of course, on what great leadership means based on their example, and that's important. A couple of presenters have said this today. They taught me, of course, that true leadership, it's not about having all the answers or being the smartest individual in the room. It's about ideally creating an environment where every voice matters and where there are different perspectives and experiences at the table. And most importantly, those perspectives are valued. They create opportunities for their associates, and when they don't have a seat at the table, they advocate on their behalf. As a leader, I want to build a future where opportunities in our industry aren't defined by gender, background, or any other factor, where what matters are your ideas and your work ethic and your ability to think further. We have made huge strides in this area, and Hygieia is a strong example of that. But if our industry is going to stay current, we have to push this even further.
Kiki, same question.
Yeah, there's nothing left to give, April. Jeez. That was magnificent. I mean, literally, I think April and I have so many similarities. By the way, the next time I'm feeling that imposter creep back in, I'm calling you because I will need you to talk me off the ledge. One of the things that I have always, I think, valued, and because of the environments that we've grown up in professionally, is I've always had more male support because they're just the law of numbers. There have been more men around, and the ability to show them that they don't have to think of me as a gender, but as a person who has the ability to think differently, to provide insight, to lead large teams, to grow and develop others. That's what I want to emulate. And that's what I hope inspires the next generation of leaders to really be thoughtful, to really ensure that, we are leaving lasting and positive impacts on others. That's the legacy, and that's the way I think about it. So I think April did a great job of answering the question. There's just a couple things that I would share with you guys as well. I don't think the gender matters. I think it's about how you show up and how you ask for support deliberately in every instance that you're in. If you've earned the opportunity, ask for the opportunity.
I'm going to try to remember that myself. I think we all struggle with that. Okay, so one more question. This is actually going out to the entire panel. So this one, let's see. Sorry, I lost my space here, you guys. How have you seen the role? Nope, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Sorry, guys. What advice would you give to young women or those considering a career in facility solutions and aiming to take on leadership roles? And what skills then should they be focusing on developing? I'm sorry. April, you want to take that one first?
Sure, I can go first. So throughout my career, I've realized that success in facility solution isn't just about technical expertise. It's about being a well-rounded leader and one that truly isn't afraid of hard work. For young women or those entering this field, I would focus on a couple of areas. First, we've said this several times throughout today's presentation, but find mentors and build your network. Do it right away. But the key point of that is you need to be strategic about it. Look for people who are where you want to be in 5 years, but they also must be a good example of who you want to be. If they have the role you want, but their recommendations don't align with how you would be willing to get there, the mentorship, it's not going to benefit you. Second, and one of the most important, you have to learn to advocate for yourself. Don't wait to be noticed. You need to speak up in meetings, you need to be bold, and most importantly, ask for what you want. Your work, unfortunately, is not going to always speak for itself. That's blunt, but that's reality, and it's okay. Being your own champion isn't bragging. It's essential for career growth, especially in this industry. And finally, I open with this, but I would say this is actually the most important point, is you must be willing to work hard. This industry demands hard work and dedication, and you need to be willing to roll up your sleeves, tackle challenges, and get out of your comfort zone. Be the first one in and be the last one out. And most importantly, be the hardest worker and the smartest worker in the room.
Kiki, how about your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll add a couple of nuances to April's comments. I think, one of the things for my background, just to set the context for my answer, I'm an HR girl. I grew up in human resources, and I have somehow managed to get my abilities to a point where I'm doing other things, which has been great. But part of what I developed from an HR perspective was understanding how businesses operate. This is a highly operational field. So understanding how this business works, understanding from supply chain to customer relationships to financial performance, that gives you an edge instantly. So you have to make sure you have a really strong business acumen. I think the other thing that I've seen and I've admired in so many other leaders that I've had the opportunity to work with is having this ability to solve problems efficiently and strategically. This is an ever evolving industry. There's lots of operational challenges. And anytime you are a person or you see someone that can thrive in the chaos and can take that chaos and solve problems and do it in a very strategic fashion, they are going to change the world. And so that is a skill set that I think is absolutely, absolutely critical. Aside from that, I think everything that April said is spot on. And we can't underemphasize the confidence component. you have to be tough. This is a high pressure environment. The industry in of itself is constantly moving. Make sure that when you walk into a room that you know your worth and you back up your decisions with data and results. So those are the things that I would ask you guys to consider.
Mandy?
It's hard to follow this, like Kiki said earlier. I think the biggest thing for me that I've experienced that I would like to pass on is lean in. Lean into every opportunity that comes your way and run with it. I think April said, get uncomfortable. Yeah, you have to get uncomfortable. Be the brave one that chooses that really hard path, because when you're uncomfortable, that's when you're growing the most. That's when you're developing the most. And at the same time, don't feel like you need to do it all. You don't need to have all the answers. As you develop your team, lean into them too. You want to make them uncomfortable too, because you already recognize that's when you grow the most. You want to continue growing and developing others. And along with this, identify your unique skill set. We talked a lot about the different perspectives and skills that women bring to the table. Really reflect and think about what your specific skills are and how you can bring those to the table. And then identify others that excel in those areas that you don't. And again, that's okay. And then grow together to elevate the whole team, the collective skills of the team. And lastly, I don't think it's about chasing success. If you keep your eyes on that, it's not rewarding. It's not the greatest goal to have. You really need to decide to make a difference, decide what matters to you, and success will find you. When you're making a difference, success will be because of what you're doing and the impact that you're making, because you really need to feel that passion and be living it out every day. And that's when the rewards and the success come.
And Laura?
So it's so great to be with such a awesome panel, Kiki, Mandy, and April, and they're all in leadership roles, which I feel like their perspective and advice is so valuable. I'm not currently in a management or a leadership role, so I will say this because I think anybody on this call is likely aspiring to do more. It's why you're involved. It's why you joined the panel, and I certainly would say that for myself. And it's not always, it just situationally, sometimes you're just not climbing as fast as you think you would. But I will say this. I had a great piece of advice given to me several years ago from a gentleman who I really admired, and he was retiring. I said, "What's your best piece of career advice for me?" He's like, "Laura, everyone's going to want to go vertical. That's, climb the ladder as fast. But, I say go horizontal. Learn as much about the business in every area. Don't shy away from that, because ultimately you're going to go further by really learning and being entrenched in everything that's good and bad about what we're doing." And I really took that to heart because, sometimes opportunities present themselves and it may feel like a step back. But in reality, I'm expanding my knowledge base. And so it's a win in the long term. And, you have to be in it kind of for the long term. So I think going back to my love of learning, I just really try and learn as much as you can about as many things as you can about this business. Kiki said business acumen. I totally agree, because the more informed you are, the more powerful you are in any situation. You can tackle any problem. You can be an asset to anyone that you're working for, because you've taken the time to really be the expert in all aspects of your business. So that's what I would say. Not to say don't climb, because it's very important to, but if you don't always have the opportunity, maximize where you're at to learn the most and be prepared when those roles come.
We got a question. We did get a little out of order on our questions, so we're going to flip back for this last one and wrap up with this last question, which goes back to the mentoring topic. So Mandy and Laura, interested in your take on what organizations can do better to foster a culture that encourages and supports mentoring at all levels. So Mandy, if you want to take that one first.
Yeah, I think this is a great question, because I'll be honest, when I became a leader, I did not have any guidance. I didn't have anyone to really give me a lot of input. I had to, again, push myself out of my comfort zone to get any guidance. And it's the same with mentors. When I was told, you should get a mentor. Okay, how do I do that? What do I do? What do I ask? How do you just randomly approach someone? So I think as important it is for us all to continue seeking out mentors, it's equally important for emerging and established leaders to continue to mentor others. Think about where you were and the struggles that you went through and how you might bring those back to help the emerging leaders that you're working with. A great habit to build as we're talking to those early on in their career is asking not, are you a leader, but what kind of leader are you? And recognizing that there's all different types, because that really can help emerging leaders, or those that don't even know that they're emerging leaders, be able to ask the good questions and think about their own development. Here at Gojo, I've been working with another woman leader in my organization to develop and pilot a program that helps new and emerging leaders develop and master skills and competencies to effectively lead R&D teams. So I think this is a really big gap in our industry, because we focus so much on technical skills. And so when you become a leader in the technical realm, it's really hard because you never worked on those skills before. So we're really focusing on topics as we build this program. We're focusing on topics like communication and time management and emotional intelligence, conflicts, just all of those things that we never learn to help as a collective work together to establish a really strong leadership network. And I always say to my daughters, when you're helping others, you're actually helping yourself too, because when you're helping others grow, you grow. You don't realize it in the moment, but it's really helping you both grow together. And I think I saw a question in the chat. Maybe someone addressed it already about how do you ask. And how I've done this in the past is really approach it with a sense of vulnerability and stating why. So it might be from a place of respect or a place of, I do not know anything about this realm that you're an expert in, and I really want to learn these specific things. And using a lot of the tools that exist today. Rachel had mentioned the mentoring, or Allison had mentioned the mentoring network within Hygeia. I think there's a lot more guides and tools out there that didn't exist when a lot of us started, 20 plus years ago. And I think that's amazing, because we're all learning along the way. And then again, building that backwards for those that are starting off in their career to really help them get on the right track for all of the great things that they're going to do.
Laura?
I think this one's actually me, so I can take this one,
Perfect.
Laura.
Thanks, April.
Mandy, I love everything you said, and you're a really good example of what this industry can do with mentoring, with the pilot program that you described. I think overall as an industry, we need to do better when it comes to mentoring. We talk a really good game about developing talent, but we have so many areas of opportunity. First, we need to ideally make mentoring a core part of every leader's job description, not just a nice to have, right? That gets pushed to the side when things get busy, which in our industry is all the time. But we need to actually carve out dedicated time and treat these relationships just as important as a customer meeting or a quarterly review, or it's physically not going to happen. Mentoring, of course, though, isn't just a senior leader responsibility. There are valuable reverse mentoring opportunities that our younger team members can provide. They have fresh perspectives on technology and emerging trends that could really benefit senior leadership. They have so much that they can teach to us as well. And finally, just like Mandy said, We really need to make mentoring more accessible. When we were preparing for this presentation today, we all thought back to how did we get into these roles? And unfortunately, many of them weren't through an established mentoring program, right? So often these relationships are developed through informal networks, and we're missing such key talent in that, if that's the route we're going. We need structured programs that create opportunities for everyone, regardless of their background, and especially regardless of their ability to network. If we want to truly build an industry that values development, we need to make mentoring a fundamental part of how we operate.
That's so excellent. Thank you all, ladies. That was very insightful, very valuable information and stories that you've shared with us today. So I'm going to now turn it back over to Allison for a few closing remarks. So Allison.
Thanks, Rachel. Thank you, everyone. This was such a great discussion today, and I saw a lot of engagement with the audience, which is amazing to see. I would like to open it up to the audience for any questions you have. So if you do have any, please enter them into the chat or the Q&A box. Okay, so I do see one that came in. How have you seen the role of women in facility solutions evolve over the years, and where do you see it heading in the next 5 to 10 years? I don't know if any of the panelists want to answer this, or Rachel.
Yeah, I'll go. So without dating myself, I've been in the industry for quite a while. And I do know that, you know, when I go to the ISSA show or I go to different distributor shows, you know, it's not just, you know, it's not the majority men anymore. You know, it's a good 50-50 mix of women and men both. So it's so great to see that women have embraced this industry and they're not afraid to kind of go after something. You know, that's typically been looked at as a male dominated industry. And I think that we're definitely holding our own in this space. And I think that's going to continue to evolve over, you know, the next, I don't want to say 20 years, but I'm going to say 20 years. So, you know, and so it's encouraging to see that, you know, that ratio has definitely leveled off to what I would say 50-50 now.
I love hearing that, Rachel. You're much more feet on the ground than I am, and to see that is really, really cool. I think a lot of the skills that we talked about earlier that women bring to the table are being maximized more and more than in previous years. The nurturing aspect that I spoke of earlier has bloomed into long-lasting, solid relationships. We talked about that a lot today. And then also the passion and creativity has emerged through entrepreneurial spirits with women-led businesses and initiatives. And I think that's just really awesome to see how the skills, the unique sets that we bring to the table are being really maximized to the fullest, when before it was very, very much a male dominated industry.
Yeah, those are both really great answers. Thank you. And then we just had one more question come through from Jessica. How do you get your executive leadership on board with dedicating time to mentorship?
Yeah, I can take that one if it's helpful. So I would say, you know, everybody's go-to is HR, and being a leader in HR, I can tell you it's not a hill that we are going to be able to climb or take on our own. You need to get stakeholder feedback. We really need the business to be supportive and key talent in the business to be advocates for it. So if you are passionate about a mentoring program, which we should all be, right, based on today's answers, I would recommend that you go to those that you have relationships with and hopefully that you've networked with, and you get their thoughts within your organization and see if they would be willing to be an advocate with you. And then I would approach the HR team and see if it's something that you can co-sponsor together and help build out together. In this industry, everybody is busy and we move very quickly. And so the more plug and play you can make it for leaders, the more likely they are to implement it.
And that is all. I want to thank everyone for joining, and thank you so much to our panelists and moderator. This was a very fantastic discussion today. So everyone have a great day. Thank you.